Hello, work wife. Welcome to another episode of Dear Work Wives. I'm Adrian,
And I'm Emily.
and we're excited to go to Disney World. So we're both wearing our Disney attire.
See? Well, you can't see if you're listening, but if you want to see us, you could check us out on YouTube because we're there, and also on Spotify. It plays the video. But as this episode airs, we are in Disney World. So we thought we would represent our Disney. Isn't that exciting for us?
What are we doing right now while this episode is airing?
Are we in Magic? Which one are we going to first?
I think Hollywood Studios.
So we're in Magic Kingdom then.
Right? Wait. What?
Are we doing Hollywood, Magic, Epcot?
Yeah, but this airs on Tuesday.
Oh, right. It airs on Tuesday. I can't. We record on Wednesday, airs on Tuesday. So we're in Hollywood Studios. I'm probably riding Rise of the Resistance right now.
Right now, at this moment.
No matter when you're listening to it, that's what I'm doing.
I'm just doing it over and over again. So.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Well,
I'm probably riding Slinky Dog, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Did Kit go on Rise? I guess she didn't. You said she didn't do Rise of the Resistance when you went last time, right?
No.
Well, I hope she does it this time.
She doesn't know Star Wars stuff. So I feel like dark things, scary things. Like, she loves roller coasters, but
right.
She doesn't like scary things. So we gotta navigate. We'll see how brave she's feeling with like your kids, you know?
Yeah,
she might be like,
she wants to be like, oh, I'm cool. Yeah. Like if she'll do Tower of Terror.
No, I don't think I would put her on that.
No?
I think that would be terrifying.
Too scary for her?
I think so.
Will she do Haunted Mansion?
She didn't like Haunted Mansion when we did it. Like, I also understand, like, I don't really love Haunted Mansion either because it feels like scary for no thrill. Like,
yeah, it's boring for sure. Yeah.
So boring, and there's always the biggest line, like,
which is like people are gonna come for our necks because we're slandering Haunted Mansion because some people are obsessed, right?
Obsessed. I know.
And I'm like, no, it's not for me. It's so boring. It's basically like It's a Small World, but in a coaster instead of but not even a coaster. It's just a track instead of a boat, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
she did not love
I will be
that.
skipping it.
Yeah, because it was like ghosts, but no thrill. Like, at least Tower of Terror she might like because there's like
the
thrill. I just don't know if that's like too much of a thrill for her. She's never done like a drop one like that, you know?
You'll have to see if she's into it.
We'll see. Tyler will be like, absolutely not. He's like so protective.
I mean, Oakley went on it and he was 6.
Yeah, she just turned 4 and she's a very emotional creature, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, the reality is that we're going to be in Disney World together, but I bet we will be separated for most of the day because we will be in Star Wars land.
Yes.
So
yes. And we will be in Toy Story Land.
Yeah.
And we will be watching the Frozen show because they love that. What else?
Indiana Jones.
We'll be visiting The Little Mermaid.
We didn't do that last time, so. Lila did say this time when we go, like, she's excited to meet some characters because we didn't do that at all. Because we were like, coasters, you know?
Right.
So maybe we'll get to meet some princesses and such this time with you because we didn't at all.
You guys welcome to come with us because that's number one request from Kit is she wants to see Mickey and Minnie, which was surprising to me. That was her number one thing. And roller coasters. She did add that in. Of course. And Coco has just started. We asked her, we're like, you're going to Disney World next week. And she goes, I see Goofy and Daisy.
Yeah.
And give them a hug. I was like, yeah, sure. So she's equally excited about the characters. It will be interesting to see, you know.
The only thing that Oakley wants to buy is the Goofy hat. He has regrets from not buying it last time we went, so.
I remember having that hat as a kid, so.
Yeah, and
I'm here for it.
He's like, it's at the store in Epcot, so we need to go to the store. I was like, oh, we will be going to that store because that's the best store in the whole park. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the big store.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so that's where we'll be. So sorry to all you suckers who are not there with us, but we love you.
We're at work today listening to us. So I saw this post from Sarah Blakely this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it like motivated me to be more rich, because she was like saying like one thing that people ask her about, you know, like, what is your favorite part about being successful? She's like, spoiling my friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so good. She takes her friends, like, I don't know, it was like 17 friends or something that she takes on her PJ to a private destination every year for her birthday, which I just love that. Like, it's her birthday and she's treating everyone, obviously. Like, and she's done this for the past like 17, 18 years or something. Wow. Or like ever since she was 35. So
right.
I think she's in her 50s now. And I just aspire to be wealthy enough that I can give away a lot of money and take my people on birthday trips for myself.
To Disney World.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sign me up. I'm glad I'm one of your friends, because I'll get to go on trips.
It'll just be you and me probably, but
that's fine. And Dee.
I'm kidding. I got friends. We'll take them all.
Okay.
So yeah, just working on that now, you know?
Okay. Done.
We have a theme today.
Perfect.
It's called meetings.
Okay.
I want to talk about meetings, and then we have some stories that are about meetings so we can answer people's questions.
I love the theme. I love a good theme.
I know. What's your opinion on meetings, just before we even dive into like some statistics and stuff? How do you feel about meetings?
I feel like meetings have the potential to be incredibly impactful as long as they stay on topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes that topic is just connection, you know? And I think like that is important too. I think where meetings get like a bad rap is when the information could have been an email. Like, it's just information sharing rather than discussion, you know? Mm-hmm. If you don't need my input, then just send me something in written form for me to, or a video for me to watch like on our own time at double speed. If we're not discussing this, then it doesn't need to be a meeting. Or when people just let them go off the rails, you know, then it's a problem. But I do find, especially being a remote team, that there are plenty of times where it is much easier to just hop on a quick call than it is to back and forth in Slack all day long. Mm-hmm. Because we're trying to like make decisions or have a discussion about things or share information and then require feedback. It's like, can we just get on a call because it's just faster? But if you're just telling me things, like, just tell me.
Yeah.
Then I'll read it and then I'll be like, cool. Thanks for sharing.
Then I'll give you a thumbs up.
No, I won't give you a thumbs up. I'll give you a heart emoji. I hate the thumbs up.
But they make the thumbs up like so accessible in Slack. You know, it's like the first one. So
I changed my emojis so that's
not meant to be an FU. It's just like a
Yeah, I changed my emojis so that the thumbs up is not one of my 3. It's the purple heart because Sandy's favorite color is purple, and so I always like to give purple hearts. The confetti cannon.
Yes.
And then what's my third one, I wonder? It's the laughing face emoji. Laughing face.
Laughing face.
Yes. Purple heart, confetti cannon, laughing face. So my got it emoji is the purple heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do that, people listening, and you can finally make the thumbs up go away. You can change your emojis.
I guess I need to do that because sometimes I accidentally click the thumbs up and then I'm like, oh no, someone's going to think I'm being like passive aggressive.
Emily's going to think I'm being passive aggressive with her. I'm like, yeah, I am.
Better go back and thumbs up that and heart it instead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I've done that before. Yeah. I have. I'm like, oops.
I don't mean that. Yeah.
So I have some stats that I think
Okay.
are interesting. So the average employee attends 62 meetings a month.
That seems reasonable. You work, what, 20 plus days out of a month? Divide that by 4.
5.
5. There's 5 work days for most people.
It's like 2 to 3 meetings a day.
No.
Right?
Oh, I guess it is. Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, actually, when you say it's like 2 to 3 meetings a day. But I wonder if that includes, like, there are some people's jobs where, like, all they do is meetings. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, like, for upper level, like, high level management.
Yeah.
50% of their time is spent in meetings. So
right.
those people are probably skewing the average, right?
Right. I'm just like, I always close my calendar because the notifications are loud and annoying. But like today alone, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings. Tomorrow I have 1.
How many do you have all week total?
6
total for the week.
7
meetings, not like
8.
training calls or anything.
8, 9. I have 9 for the week.
Okay. So
how many do you have?
That's about 2 a day. How many do I have? Meetings, not like, so we're talking like internal meetings.
Yeah.
1,
not like
2,
sales calls or something.
4.
Yeah. Yeah, I have 9. You're like, Emily, you need to have less.
I don't know. I mean, you have all the one-on-ones though.
Yeah, I have all the one-on-ones.
I just have a one-on-one with you.
Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. You know, like my role is that. So I have more meetings.
Yes.
So.
Okay, let's see some other statistics here that were interesting.
And we work a 4-day work week, so just to make it clear, that does equal 2 to 3 meetings a day for me.
Yeah. Time spent in weekly meetings, almost 50% of people spend over 4 hours a week in meetings.
Easily.
Yeah.
No brainer.
47% of employees consider meetings to be the biggest waste of time at work. In addition, 39% of employees admitted to dozing off during a meeting, and 91% admitted to daydreaming.
Oh, I definitely daydream. 100%. It's very. I have
91% of people. Yeah. Like,
I think.
Have you ever been daydreaming or like thinking of something else, and then they call on you to answer something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you're like, wait, what was the question?
Absolutely.
Say that in a different way. Can you explain that in a different way?
Or like, I agree with everything you said. I think what it has happened, like, I don't do this anymore for this exact reason. Like, so at Clockwork, I used to join a lot more coaching calls. And so I would join the call, but like there would be no need for me to be there. But then whoever was leading the call would be like, Emily, do you have any input on that? And I honestly would have zoned out because I don't really need to be there. And so once that happened, like once or twice, I was like, oh, this is actually like such a waste of my time. And now it's just making this call longer than it needs to be because I'm not listening, because I have a very hard time like staying focused. It's definitely something I have to work at every day. So if there's a question and like there's no need for me to be here and maybe I've got like something else on the back end I should be doing, that's when it became very clear to me that like, oh, this is such an inefficiency for me to be here just to like support my team members. Like, you're good. Bye. You know?
You got this. Yeah. Now I'm causing more problems than I'm solving.
And I look like a clown because I'm like I'm like, oh, what did you say? Like, you know? That's why I'm a big proponent now in our team. It's like, if there is a certain level of coach or like, then no one else needs to be on that call because it's such a waste of time. And then you feel obligated to make this person speak. And then it's like, because otherwise, why are they there? And then they have to listen. And people are like, oh, I'm working on something in the background. I'm like, well, just go work on that.
Right.
And I'll stay here and do this call by myself. So, yeah.
All right. Another statistic. Only 17% of executives, so those people that have like the most amount of meetings, so only 17% of executives believe their meetings are productive and valuable. This is largely due to poor planning and lack of preparation. In fact, 63% of meetings don't even have a set agenda, and 37% don't have any agenda at all. That's like really uncomfortable for me, because please do not schedule a meeting with me if there is not an agenda. But I know after working with a lot of small business owners that that is not probably the norm, but it should be. You know, like that's one way to improve your meetings is like have an agenda, please.
Yeah. All of our meetings have agendas. I go into all my one-to-ones, like we either have a reason that we're holding them, or there's a topic, there's a reason we like meeting weekly or whatever. Or the only one that never really seems to have an agenda is the one I have with you, but it's a little bit more like reactive of like what's going on in the business that we need to discuss. So like we have talking points, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Like we each usually have like, here's a couple things I want to discuss today.
Yeah.
And then it's also, you know, more of a one-on-one support type call. So I think that partly the agenda, not just
it's like, what do you need to cry about today?
But it's not like one of our strategic type meetings. Because I think one-on-ones, you know, are typically less agenda focused. But actually not necessarily that they're less agenda focused, but the person that is being coached or mentored should have some things that maybe they want to discuss. And you as the mentor might also have like a few bullet points, but it's not necessarily a decision-making call. It's not like we got to get to this, and this, and make decisions about these things. It's a little more fluid in nature, I think, from my experience.
Totally.
And recommendation. Otherwise, like,
don't bother.
People probably aren't feeling like supported. They're just feeling like it's an action item meeting, you know?
Yeah.
But that's a lot of meetings without an agenda. So
change that, people.
You know, yeah, just get an agenda. Preferred time for meetings.
We had a 70%
of employees prefer between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. 19% prefer between 12 and 5 p.m.
Okay.
9% prefer between 6 and 8 a.m.
Nope.
Excuse me. And 2% prefer after 5 p.m. No.
That must have been like job specific. So most people prefer between 8 to 12 a.m. is what you're saying in the morning.
Yes.
So I understand the logic behind that, in that you have your meeting and then you usually get your action items from the meeting. So then you have time to go do these things. Yeah. I find that I am actually also my most productive in the morning though. So I would rather have my meetings in the afternoon. So like if we have a weekly meeting, it's Monday afternoon, and then you just tackle those tasks like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday mornings are spent like, what do we need to gather for the meeting, or what do I, you know, like there's definitely, you always start the week with lots of things to do.
Yeah.
That being said, I actually tried to switch it where we work, but it was too many conflicts for people. So I wanted the meetings to be at like 2. But it didn't work for too many people, so they stay where they are, 11. But
11 late morning.
Yeah, I'm an afternoon meeting girly because I have a hard time working on deep work in the afternoon. I'm much better on a call.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like for myself too, like I'm gonna be much more productive if I can have some uninterrupted morning work time. But I definitely don't want a 6 to 8 a.m. meeting, although I used to work at a corporate job where we would have like 7 a.m. meetings. And I had to have like things ready for that meeting. So I also had to like be in by 6:30 at the latest. I don't know how people do that if they have lives or children, especially. So
they have a partner and then stays home.
Yeah, who just picks up
who's
all the
able
slack.
to handle that, like my life.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. He's gone. Yeah.
He's gone every morning. Yeah.
And then after 5, I think is just disrespectful.
Absolutely not. I can't really even do a meeting after 3. It's challenging, which I know is very contradictory to what I just said. Just my kids have to come home and be quiet, you know?
You're like, I need the meeting to be between 2 and 3. That's it.
But if I worked in an office, we wouldn't have this issue, of course. You know, I just work from home. So like just that my kids come home and I'm like, shh, you know? I can do it, but it just means they get extra screen time, which they are not complaining about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to take a little, stroll into meeting land, because I think that there are a lot of meetings that
get your agendas ready, people.
Yeah, that could be shorter. Okay, so the other thing is like most meetings are scheduled for like 30 to 60 minutes, but the ideal meeting time is 15 to 20 minutes.
Noted.
Okay. Just bam, bam, bam.
Schedule it for 20, block out 30. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because Parkinson's law, a task will expand or contract with the time you give it.
Yeah.
Right? And if someone didn't put something on the agenda, that's their fault.
Yeah.
They need to be efficient and they need to be mindful of the time.
Exactly. Do better, people.
Do better and add it to the agenda in advance. Also, I always tell people, like, if you have an agenda, that's also a way for you to, like, really make your team optimize and, like, make your team time more efficient. Because if someone sees the agenda and they're like, oh, none of this pertains to me, then they should decline the meeting request. Like, you shouldn't go if none of this pertains to you. You could be working on things that move the business forward, right? Instead of sitting on a meeting just because everyone told you you had to come to the meeting when nothing actually...
Yeah.
Nothing on the agenda
had anything to do with
concern.
Also, we'll see things on the agenda where I can just respond in Slack. I'm like, someone asked this question on the agenda. This is the answer. No discussion necessary. Removed from the agenda, you know?
Yes.
And not in a mean way, but just like, if you're looking for info, here's the info, you know?
Yes. And so it's like good practice, like you said, to like also go look at that agenda in advance, see if there's anything that, number one, even pertains to you. Number two, you could answer in a message before so that we don't have to have too many cooks in the kitchen having a discussion about something that really just needs a direct answer, right?
Yeah.
And then you could remove it from the agenda, and now we made the meeting even more efficient. So
yeah,
that's that. You ready to do some stories?
Let's do it.
Okay. My boss makes meetings just before lunchtime or right before the end of the working day.
Rude.
So that's pretty much it. My boss has a terrible habit of calling everyone for important business meeting just 10 minutes before lunchtime. Meeting can be up to an hour or just before the workday ends. Also can be up to an hour almost every day now. Do you have any experience with this and these types of bosses? What would you do?
Decline the meeting
Number
invite.
1. Yeah, decline the meeting invite.
For the end of day ones especially.
Like, I got somewhere to be. This is what I don't understand about
meeting
bosses
culture.
Sometimes, like employers or managers, is just the disregard for people's lives. Like, my husband had a meeting and it was like going until 6 p.m. And I was like, what's going on? Like, we have 2 kids. Like, now I'm like juggling both the kids when I normally have some support at 5 p.m. and like I'm taking the kids to their activities and whatever. And so now I have both kids because he's on this call, and I'm like, well, yeah, like take the call, like be in your meeting. But I just don't understand, like, the person who's holding the meeting, like, aren't they thinking like, oh, Emily probably has family to get to. Like, she probably needs to go make dinner or be with her. Like, that's where my thoughts are as a business owner. Like, I'm so aware of the time and of people's personal lives. Like, I don't understand being like
ignorant to those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you work in a environment where it's like a 9 to 5 expected workday, you know?
Right.
It's like, why is this meeting going till 6 then? Why didn't it happen at 4 and go till 5?
Right.
Or why isn't it tomorrow morning at 9?
Right. Like, I understand if there's like certain emergency
Yeah.
situations, right? Like, but that would be the exception, like not the norm. And
Yeah.
I would still be like, hey, Emily, like, we need to have a meeting tonight. Like, I know that you have a family, you have kids. Like, what is the best time tonight for us to do that? Because like
Yeah.
this is an emergency, but I also care about what you need to have handled because this
Yeah.
is like not the norm.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand people's like lack of awareness for people's lives. Like if the expectations are different, like if you have a job where
Loosey goosey.
when you signed up for the job you knew that it was going to be like into evenings or whatever, and that was just part of the deal, then that's maybe a little bit different. But like it sounds like this person has a lunch break and they have like a time when they're done and calling meetings for everyone, right? Like, so that's even more bananas.
Yeah.
It's like,
We all need to be on this
everyone
call?
really need to be at this meeting?
Yeah. Are you just trying to control my structure, my day even further, you know?
Yeah.
I think if you have like our team, I schedule all throughout the day, and it's kind of up to each of us individually to block out time for you to have your own lunch. So it's not, we have plenty of noon meetings.
Yes.
But if someone was like, oh, it's lunch, can we meet at 1? I'd be like, of course. Like, whatever works for you, you know? The end of day ones, I would just decline the invite. Sorry. Like, have you seen, like, I think her name's like Lo Whaley or something on Instagram, TikTok. She does a lot of these, and it's like teaching people how to hold boundaries in corporate. It's like, you pay me from 9 to 5. My workday ends at 5. Unless you're going to pay me overtime or give me time off in lieu for these extra hours, my workday ends at 5, and I will tackle this first thing tomorrow morning. Like, she's always very respectful about it. Like, if this is high priority, and then are you paying me overtime? You know? Or if not, I'll do it first thing tomorrow. So
yeah. And it's like, if this person is also, it sounds like this person is also calling these meetings almost every day. So like, why is this not a scheduled meeting? Is there an agenda for this meeting? Like, what is the purpose of this meeting? Because it sounds like either it's because they're having some stress about something that's going on and maybe they need updates or something like that. But there are other ways to get that information at different times versus this like stressed out, like, we need to have a meeting
right now
before the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone. So it's like something is foundationally wrong, and I would probably dig into that, and I would set your own boundaries and also question, you know, the things that we were talking about earlier is like, if there is no agenda, this is hard to do, but like, if there is no agenda, also like, if there is no agenda, I'm not coming to a meeting. Decline it. Like, that's a boundary of like, I need to make sure that this is a good use of my time, a good use of the company's time for me to be here. Right. Like, so if there's no agenda, I don't know that this is a meeting for me. And if there is an agenda and there's nothing related to you being there, then absolutely decline, you know? And if it's outside of your working hours, then also decline, right? So decline, and then come back the next morning and you'll probably get a 45-second update on what you needed to know from that hour-long meeting, which is part of the problem. So, all right. Here's another one, similar in nature. Stop setting useless effing meetings. I have a director that loves to set up meetings. She doesn't exactly do any of the work, so it seems like she's filling up her days by forcing all of us into weekly internal meetings. All of us actually have things to do, and 2 to 3 meetings a day is such a waste of time, and it's also very disruptive. I'm all for meetings to get us aligned, but just to do show and tells is so stupid. 3 hours of my day is a lot. Anyone deal with meeting happy managers or upper level management?
Yeah, it sounds like this, if this manager is looking, if they're show and tells essentially, then we need to institute something like the daily stand-up so that you can show and tell in a written format. I think something like, I mean, this is not the Run Like Clockwork podcast, but I do think that something like time tracking would help. Like, go to your manager with the data. Like, this is how much time I'm spending per week in meetings. And if I was spending a fraction of this in meetings on my work, then I would be able to push these projects ahead faster.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Like,
people don't
I'm
know.
happy to give you a daily stand-up, or we can even do a 10-minute daily stand-up, you know, in the mornings.
Yeah.
But like a virtual one where everyone comes, show and tell real quickly, but like hours long stand-ups for show and tell of status updates and stuff like that is a huge waste of time.
And like, do you have a project management system that like shows updates? Like maybe you don't, in which case there's a lot of tech that can help eliminate the need for meetings. Things like we use ClickUp, Asana, Trello, Monday. There's so many tools that allow managers to have the transparency that they're craving from meetings. You know, usually they're holding meetings because they just want the information and you have the information. So we need to make the information easy for them to access in another way. So something like a project management tool, an end of day stand-up, a morning stand-up meeting, but as long as you're holding it to the boundary of 1 minute a person or something like that, those are really effective tools, but you have to implement them and like really, really, really hold your boundary around not getting on these hours of calls every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a time tracking to show like, hey, this is not a good use of my time. I want to be moving these projects forward. And to also address like the manager's maybe discomfort of like, I feel like I'm in the dark. It's like, okay, but we don't need an hour-long meeting to solve that, right?
Yeah.
So
what do you need?
Understand,
like, what are you looking for? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and then I can provide you with that progress
in a way that's much more efficient.
Digital formats.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
All right. Here's a different perspective. So this question is I never have anything to say during our work meetings. So kind of like show and tell meetings, I think. I don't know why this is, but I literally I never have anything to say during work meetings. And it's nothing to do with me being shy or afraid to talk. I do chip in when I have an idea. I don't know if it's just me, but if I'm in a meeting, I tend to just listen mostly, especially if it's a new topic. And very rarely does a thought come across my mind for me to ask or say anything in the meeting. I guess that's also just me and the way that I process things. However, now I'm getting quite self-conscious about how I am coming across, and I've noticed my colleagues always seem to have something to say, regardless whatever topic that comes up in a meeting. When I try to read up on any materials provided before what I'm trying is to read up on any materials provided before meetings, but is there anything else I could do to change this and be more outspoken in meetings?
Meetings need people like you.
Like, I think that sometimes people just speak up in meetings because they want to be heard, but it's not actually very
good
valuable.
Use of their time.
And so, yeah, like you're comparing yourself to people who probably should just shut their mouth, you know? Sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are really valuable things to say, but I think a lot of times, I mean, this person is self-conscious because they think it's impacting the way that they're seen. Well, the other people are speaking because they think the same thing, right? It's not necessarily like some of those people are just speaking because they think that helps them to look good and not necessarily that it's like super valuable or something that would move the business forward or something. Sometimes it might be, but I do think that if you do share an idea when it does come up, that's great. You don't need to feel the pressure to like talk all the time. I don't think I think that people who are quieter actually have much more impact when they do speak up, because we're like, oh, this is actually really thoughtful. If this person is saying something, it means that it's probably something that we should listen to. I find that to be true for a lot of the people on our teams that maybe don't speak as often, you know?
And everyone has different processing times, you know, like some people on our team like say like, I need to sit with this. Classic. I need to marinate in this. And then they come back the next day with their thoughts, their questions, their feedback. So people like me, I'm very like quick draw because I need to make a decision to move the project forward. And sometimes I don't think everything through because I just want to get to a decision. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is good enough for now. Like, let's just move forward. I think there's also the people who are done is better than perfect versus people who are like, I'm not going to do anything until it's perfect. And so when you're competing with all of these personality types, decision-making styles, like personal egos, anxieties around their own roles, it feels very noisy sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think if you don't have anything that's like super, and I don't mean this to sound catty, but like if you don't have anything of value to add that hasn't already been said, that's fine. It just means it's been thought out and you're on board and you agree and you're like, okay, great. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree.
We failed on our mission to disagree.
Maybe this one. I have one more story. Okay. My COO wants me to record our one-on-one meetings with my team. So I just got promoted to a team lead. I've never managed people before. I just got an email from our COO asking me to record my one-on-one meetings with my team. They said that this would be an opportunity to provide coaching support to me. Is this common practice? I don't think it is. My initial thoughts were this is disrespecting the confidentiality and trust that is typically being established in these one-on-one meetings. Am I in the wrong? What do I say to this?
Okay, so there are certain situations where I feel very strongly that a meeting should be recorded. And unfortunately, it's usually after the fact that you're like, dang, I wish that meeting had been recorded. And it's when any meeting that is going to have any sort of ideation around projects or moving things should be recorded so that you have your notes ready. You know, like we forget things all the time. So if you're ever going to be talking about a project strategy, like just record it. If nothing of value comes out, you just delete the recording. It's not that big of a deal. But there's always those meetings where there's some sort of interpersonal concern and you're like, I wish I had the recording so it could not be my memory of the event versus their memory of the event. We could actually see the event. And it's always too little too late. So that's why sometimes the default is just record everything so that you're ready.
Yeah. I know. I feel torn on this one because I understand the fear of like losing trust with someone. But I think that if you have more of a company-wide
we just record every meeting.
Like we just record all of our meetings, right? For HR purposes. Like you're saying, if there's something that happens, we need to be able to go back to it. We need to make sure that people feel safe and protected, like if, we're also in this digital age of like, it's like he said versus she said, well, why not just record it so that we know, so that you also feel safe and protected in your role and someone's not, saying something to you inappropriate or anything like that. Like now we have it on video in case we need it. The purpose of like the COO then watching them to provide coaching support to the manager, I don't necessarily agree with that because this person who is in the one-on-one is sharing things with their manager that may be or feel more confidential in nature that they don't necessarily want the rest of the company knowing, right? And it's like, how can they establish that relationship and rapport if someone else is going to be watching those meetings? I feel like they
just go to the meeting.
Back. Yeah. Like, I think that there's other ways for the COO to provide you with coaching and support within your manager role, and you can, write things down that maybe you felt you need more support with or you're weaker on in terms of coaching and managing your team. But I don't want, and I also think it's like a kind of a misuse of time, like for the COO is now going to watch these meetings. Like that seems like a waste of people's time unless there's like something very specific. And to that point, yes, I think we could record them. And then if there is something very specific of like, hey, I don't know how to handle this, can you go watch this specific one and then give me some advice on how to coach them or support them even better? But I don't have a problem with with recording them. I think the problem is who is then watching them or what are we using them for? I would rather be more clear about that and protective about that.
Yeah.
And establish that trust with your one-on-one report too, and communicating with them. Like these meetings are not going to be watched by everyone. It's just like, just in case, like everyone is recording everything, because I would also question, like, is it just you that like, or is this a company-wide policy? Because
Yeah, it feels like there's maybe something else going on in the back end, and they're like, okay, well, we'll just get them. Like, my mind is spiraling. It's like, maybe someone's complained about you, and they're like, okay, well, we'll just have them start recording meetings so we can. It just feels slippery, but it is really nice to have that, just like, this is actually what happened, you know? And you might feel a certain way, and they might feel a certain way, but this is there's, you know, you've said before, and I've done this too, where I'm in a team meeting and I'm grumpy, and then I leave and I'll like watch the recording back, and I'm like, there was no need to be grumpy. Like, it's just me being a bitch.
I think this is a good tool sometimes for self-awareness too, more than anything. Is like, if I feel that like someone is like, if an interaction went oddly, or if I felt a certain way about an interaction on a call, I will watch it back. And 99.9% of the time, like, I'm in the wrong. Like, I looked angry or weird, or like I misread or I misinterpreted in the moment how someone was responding. And like, I maybe thought that they were being negative initially, but then when I watch it back, I'm like, no, they weren't being negative at all. Like,
Yeah.
I misread that, you know? And so I do think having the recordings is helpful for you. So I think this could be something that you watch back even as like like maybe I wasn't as aware in the moment as I thought or maybe I misread that. So I do think that there's a ton of value in recording meetings. And if something doesn't, because like you said, all you have is like your memory if you don't record them, and that is not to be trusted, you know?
Especially in situations where you're expecting one thing from the people you're in the meeting with and you don't get that. Now you're on the defense sometimes if you're like expecting everyone to be excited and instead they're like overwhelmed or frustrated or disappointed, and now you're like mad about their reaction, but they didn't actually do anything wrong.
Right.
You're just mad, you know? So I've been in that situation before where I'm like so excited about something and the team's just like feels like they burst your bubble, but they're just having their own feelings around the thing, right? So
or they're just even like neutral. Sometimes like because like you're expecting like fireworks or like excitement. I mean, this happens to me, right?
I think
like
it happened to us on Thursday. You shared something and I was like, okay, great. And you're like, why are you not more excited? I'm like, it's a great idea. I'm just like,
just like whatever.
Cool, make it happen, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think like if they're not matching what your expectation is, then it can be misconstrued in your own head too. And it's not necessarily negative, it's just neutral, but you wanted something more than neutral, but that doesn't make them wrong. It makes you mismatching expectations. You know, you also didn't tell them my expectation is that
I'm excited about this, so you must be excited about this. It's like, okay.
Yeah, which is like, that's not true either. You don't want that, because then you're not getting the truth from people, you know? So like, you say you want the truth, like
you can't handle the truth.
All right, that's all I got today.
All she wrote. Okay. Well, if you want to submit your stories, you can find us at dearworkwives.com. That's our website. You can also find us on YouTube at Dear Workwives, on Instagram at Dear Workwives, and on TikTok at Dear Workwives.
All the places.
And also Facebook, but we don't go there. We just had to have a Facebook account to link it to our Instagram, so don't bother.
Yeah, well, don't bother us there.
Yeah. But we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.